so Hamidin your Saibonsu. Felix, me bow hona fe any other business.
Minia Mesa. Abra meka say finance minister Edin Sembia Betudra. Later on one person in Kaye. Actually, no say me maka to finance minister. I should go to the appropriate forum. I don't know what appropriate forum is not talking about. Member. Finance minister Bekache. It is in the 2019 budget. Indeed, they created a huge storm in the teacup for her. Say omutua capacity charges I be Maria said that, and that they were finance minister said they were paying $500 million per annum. Now I'm sure yeah, you be $12 billion. These are facts. It is in his own budget statement. And now Alas and Suhini, a table question said he should come to Parliament and tell us, and I tell the people of Ghana exactly how much he has paid in capacity charges since 2017 to timer. Obisa question this year. It's even a 5-year period, if I'm not mistaken. Minister Nebaya, Siko Adibetu Gano, a new $1 billion. Which means that it cannot be true. So much $5 million a year. As no Bekano in 2019 budget, and then no credit. This is a fact. I have not controlled anything. It is a minister Bekan some no credit. He is a parliamentarian. Me, I'm not an MP. What action can I take against the minister? But at least I am satisfied. Say the truth has come out. I thought to me, no. They are the best managers of the economy. Master, this is the worst economy we've had in 40 years. What say you are the best? Economic it out. Yet your performance is so poor. And yet you are saying, say, you are the best. Best in what? There's not a single indicator. As of the end 2020, you were better. We had the lowest growth in 37 years. 0.04. We deficit 15.2%, the highest in 40 years. Is the highest in our history. What contributes to 60% of the public debt? And yet you are claiming say you are the best. On what basis? Now what can almost say, oh, COVID. Now it was COVID. I have already proved to you with facts. Say, answer na COVID the ban. Now, Ghana. It was almost 200. It was past 200 billion. Your debt to GDP ratio was 63%, much higher than what they inherited. And now your deficit from 2018 was higher than a year 2016. So on what basis do you claim say you are better? Now the reason why I'm going to shatter what he claims is that when he say COVID,
Yes,
COVID happened in every country, not Ghana. Your neighbors, we have neighbors, peers. I'm not even going to compare us to developed countries. I don't know. I've debunked it to you. So we say US for almost a debt to GDP ratio of 99%. I won't cash it. Because they have the ability to pay, which you don't have. They have a wider tax base. Until they have 25% tax to GDP ratio. Oh, they are 12%. You are nowhere near them. You are not able to pay your debt. And then, when I say, yeah, the loan called parliament, I'm going to say, oh, LIBOR plus, Eurobor plus. If there's a slight shift in that plus, we will default on our debt. But over sub-Saharan Africa, there are countries like Cote d'Ivoire, our neighbors. In the year that they had COVID, Cote d'Ivoire recorded a fiscal deficit of 5.9%. Fiscal deficit of 5.9%. Yeah, you're saying 15.2%. Cote d'Ivoire, I did not have PS. Almost COVID-19. It was your poor management. The reason why I wouldn't have had deficit is it was an election year. So you spent recklessly on consumption and not capital expenditure. Consumption. You can't say energy payment. Your capacity payments and do $1 billion. Yet what do over $20 billion? How does that account for? Your friend saying a year bosia boy. What bosia at the year consumption? All the programs are okay, so by to me and yet. What catch and say you will do 1 million per constituency. Afibia went to me and yet you've abandoned it. What can so see dams in all 3 northern regions? You couldn't do it. The dams have dried up. What catch and say one district for factory baby. You are nowhere near the figure that you promised. Ethiopia, Cameroon, Gabon, Omunya deficit of 4.1%. Gabon deficit of 1.7%. Uganda 7.6%. Wunya 15.2%. And what you know, a year interest payments on our bonds are countries like Ethiopia, almost 1%. The South-Saharan African average is 4%. Yeah, yet you are 9%. You've mismanaged your economy. Now, what catch you say, oh, the way I'm working, they would have to seek debt relief through IMF programs. They will never go to the IMF. Since I'm a John Kuma, I'm so Casano, me Pia Bontica crab, because I was joy.
Yeah.
Or see, they will never go to the IMF. Massa, last year, IMF what did she be by? Say, what shall not so much wabra, so that they can afford you an opportunity to defer your interest payments. Make us say interest payments require 35 billion a fee. But there are conditionalities attached. And now because of politics, they don't want Ghanaians to say Somako IMF into Omanko. So they've missed that opportunity to seek relief, to defer your interest. Now, be 35 billion, no? And the Abesha Ghana seek a same. Send a car with the cocoa distributors and the suppliers. A car with the contractors I want to mean to ya. A car with the fertilizer for 780 million Ghana cents want to mean to ya. What you mean is sky, no? What's a won't call? Because you don't want it to be said so call IMF. Meanwhile, IMF also it is your objective condition and the chance of the in among 22 countries, your credit rating of -B and a B- no, is the 9th amongst first 15. No? And everything shows, say we are on an unsustainable path. In 18 months, if they don't go to the IMF for debt relief, we will default on our debts. A fact based on our condition and yet conjecture because you won't have the money to pay. The revenues are showing us it is fixed. Workers, you've stated it in your budget. So, in America, a move fa and I would do yaka. And it will rise because your debt is rising. So, in the first half of this year alone, what the $27 billion account? You may not pay the principal, but you pay interest. Until next year, you may pay about 40 to 45 billion in terms of your interest payments. It is your catcher say, go to the IMF for debt relief. No, this is your more DSSR. It should be on the Aba. Say they are going to engage in a program for countries to access in order to get debt relief. It is like HIPIC. And in many ways, your economic indicators, no, any HIPIC they pay. In many ways, many of the indicators are just like HIPIC levels. It's Obi, and your boss Remoka, and your better. These are objective facts. They have destroyed the Ghanaian economy with recklessness. It is as someone better as well. We are better managed. It is a lie. In fact, any like it is an insult. Say they see your indices. Omen who say your growth rate is terrible, the worst in 40 years. With deficit, I say cry. What the car won't mean to ya. And that was not the situation in 2016. Yet you say you are better. So what is the metric for measuring the better manager of the economy?
But I also growth rate arguments now. For those who argue, say, if you look at the growth rate projections, even in 2019, and the outturns, now they compare 2020, can't you safely argue, say 2020 is outlier?
If you don't use just one indicator to assess the health of an economy, indeed, the way economy is now, you can discover oil today to shoot your GDP up, but it doesn't mean anything because you can't cry a mama anymore now. What the GDP? So, 7% growth of GDP in 2017. Everybody knows it was because of two oil fields. Nanado Betoy. He didn't even discover or develop them. That was not available in 2016. It doesn't mean anything. Non-oil GDP, na any 2016, the pay about 3.8%. Yenya 14.4% growth in 2011. Our non-oil GDP was almost 8%. It was a better performance than the Omayeno. Since then, the GDP has been declining. From 2017, a decline to 0.04%, the worst in 40 years. So there's nothing exceptional that they've done. But the indicators are any impact on a minor was a deficit in a car because it has implications on how you use your revenue. Say na wo sika won fa ntua ka emfa ntua insihu eda eka ho a wo benya sika etua contractors ka na contractors wo de omoka it not only affects contractors no because eka o makobo and abuso mabo bank no ye je omo nsihu obi wo wa ne fie ya auction ya ton ne fie e de ko tua ka ode owo edumayefo a we yi omedi because you are not paying them. Ekosiisen on companies now a supply fertilizer no. What do you moka 780 million? How do you expect their businesses to survive? The business will collapse. One may year month ready. And why is that? Because because of your deficit financing. Ena eka wutia. So indicators no eye maku 18. Your primary balance, your inflation, your interest rates. But in terms of their what impact on the people, no, a deficit ne yaka. Hwe na nsen ya Ghana for eduma for ka say omo pay aketu into money 4%. Me wa ka say you index it to the rate of inflation meboa. You are not able to meet 4% pay. Ebi no kra ayo ma den say omo do infidie beto no ma strike because they are not satisfied with that. You are not able to meet any commitment. Make us say there are contractors out there 2 years. You cannot execute important projects. You are not able to invest significantly in water, in health, in roads, in anything. Wow, PMFG, I was with the Abano. Minister Nabe catch there and say it is on his knees because the finance minister is not able to release any money. So who needs to go there yesterday? And you say you are better managers of the government. Better managers of what? What have you managed? How can you manage an economy better and not be able to pay your contractors because you don't have any money when you pay your debt? And Abosia Bono, it was your decision. You decided. Despite a bar beshe Ghana for say, one yet. Until we have told them, say Edikaino, they have to align expenditure with revenue. Want to me any revenue fia now unko a car etc. You cannot spend far more than you earn. It's a basic principle of economics. A certain amount of deficit is allowed. But what would you borrow? It will affect your ability to meet your commitments in subsequent years. And which is the discussion that we are having, say they must immediately begin steps to access IMF program for debt relief. No? They must take it seriously.
Mr. makes the point, say, mu push or mu to go into the number about equalization.
You see, me, I have dismissed most of their policies as populist policies. I am for when we dismissed 1 million per constituency, some almost say we are doing politics. Today, where is it? They could not finance it.
It's working.
1 million per constituency is working.
Absolutely.
So you gave 1 million to every constituency over the last 4 years. Yes. Master, just the boss of the car.
No, sir, first 2 years, no, what kind of what they are structured.
Master, the funds we're expecting were up to $1.1 billion. You release less than 10%. You have not met that promise. Don't add insult to injury. What's about so the $1 billion? When to me and yet $100 million dollars, yet was why idea. You could not even meet 10% of the commitment. So you have failed magnificently, spectacularly. But you see, Mr. Obi, now Obi has make only what's some boss say in 4 years, so mommy $1.1 billion. Now mommy $100 million over the 4 years. Can you tell me that you fulfill the promise? You have failed. It is actually an insult. They attempt the days of beginner platforms. So I can say you fulfill the promise. And not than China, share Obi for one cool. And you been true. It is the objective condition. Look, the conditions that took us to IMF are better than what we have today. Mebwa. In 2014, so now we didn't have a 15% deficit. In fact, in 2014, our deficit was below 6%. But you call IMF. Mebwa. Now your debt to GDP ratio was not 76%. Near NECA 300 billion, 332 billion. Mebwa. But you have breached all the major indicators. Yet also won't call IMF. It is an objective condition, and you'll be in a best show. And here, I say in the next 18 months, I'm a find your politics because you don't want Ghanaians to say, and I won't pass opposition back. I say, what IMF into you, and you'll be in a bachelor. Say, we are ya. Now say, we are your ya. Sabi Pedras, over which you call Naya, will be a BPS. You will go because of the state you are in.
How about his point, sir? If it was absolutely necessary, say Ombeko IMF Anka Article 4 conversations would have recommended that.
Article 4, they've issued the full report today. First one on a press release. They've issued a full 90-page report.
Yes.
It is detailed.
Is there recommendations that they would have to come to IMF?
They have made the point. Say that is an option. So I must say. If they had any, member. You see, first of all, the IMF will not push you. IMF did not recommend to us in government, IMF. We took the decision based on our assessment. IMF, they are available to all their member countries. Every country to make call. So, Ebedu baby na say, Wobosiabo, with deficit, no, they never come to tell you, say, come to us. at the same bank, was how many banks will come to you? They won't come. When our decision to go, but if they are able to dispute the figures we are giving, and they are in business, but they are not able to dispute the figures. Just that, for political reasons, almost through some committee to what we have to. Was last year they missed an opportunity. If they had gone, 35 billion this year, they won't pay. They will defer it, so that you can use that money to finance your commitments, and they want to make idea what and can we hear say what the taxes be brave. Ebu Ghana for so mami no mienu ye bre afisha si enkomodia akoso Ghana no end when obi sa fix the country.
Yes.
Demonstrations on person moko any dey ba o man mu no na ejina den so enye eto a dey buy intia. Was it not because of imposition of taxes dey ho kira be Ghana for? But why has that happened? Because you needed to raise revenue. Because revenue awunya nyina no wudi tiaka. So if you had taken advantage of the IMF's proposal, say woba, they can give you a deferred payment of your interests and debt servicing commitments. You would not have needed to increase taxes. But political reasons, you didn't go because you didn't want it to be said so IMF. And am I bread? Why don't you understand? This one is simple. You won't understand too, but don't worry. When the 18 months come, January of 2023, and you have been a bachelor of a 9. Show me what is your plan to reduce your debt.
Obi.
No,
Monfana Nunsi, or Nanusi, I don't know about. Yes,
332 billion. What is the debt to GDP ratio? Over 70%.
73.
Over 70%. We have crossed the threshold. Mama of figures say the 87% of our tax revenue and our service year debt. Esan say a canibia next year it will go up. You understand me? It will go up higher because last year now we were not paying that much. But this year we are going to pay that much. Next year then so they should show us what strategy are they using to reduce our debt, to reduce our debt service obligations. There's none beyond extra taxation. It's say in the next budget statement on the band they will bring more tax. Say what it says is here say momo tax 10% eba. Vendors need to 10%. Now vendor could 10%. 1% normal. They will pass it on to you and I because vendor is on for the Christmas. How is he going to sustain that payment if he doesn't pass it on to the consumer? I feel what they pay 8 taxes go Ghana for so. Now saying I'm for as ye did they say what port so ko yi enema. If I say would you 24,000 just 6,000 of it and a year import duty. Ya can na ye tax. Sa COVID-19 tax or there be omutu be. Sa sanitation tax omutu. So what the tax is Ghana for? Because you need money to service debt. Now your catcher will say, take advantage of an opportunity to relieve yourself of that burden. Meanwhile, you are not able to show any alternative plan. None. And Master, don't expect anything from the media review watch now. There's no magic wand they are going to wave. Abra boy amount for Coco. Said they are about me and opposition in our bar and you bit me. They told us that he was economic messiah, my boy. And he has borrowed far more than all other governments put together. Inti your best say, I am a fasemna here can. And any year count. So don't come and pull an article. All right, that's something to me the article for your friend saying. Consultations. Is a very normal consultation they do. They don't do any major way in those Article 74 consultations. So what I say, they don't do anything major in those. A diplomatic statement that they will issue. But even in those Article 4 press release or release last year, go and read. They did not attribute all our problems to COVID. They indicated that it started before COVID. No, almost said there are vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities, I can't say. It means that we see Kasemne BB to ABC or minor bebo. So it is not as the basis for going to IMF Article 4 consultation press statement and as a report.
Obi. Ne enye edania na abana according to them. Osro do boko IMF for debt relief. Edania a president okro Belgium. Okay, make a statement or call on international actors to consider debt relief for Africa.
So
So why are you saying that government is afraid? Oh, massa. Oh, chairman. Mama Kabasa. Oh, no, we have
I raised it in my submission, my first submission. Obi. Nana Akufo-Addo. Okofa sa dey you say anybody dey shepe. Omodi ne kan isi no. Why and dey say we ensure on concourse and go say that to
Obi. Now them plane the crowd where would they know? Is that the first time that Ghana has contracted that plane?
It's the first time we contracted that plane.
Please. Obi, I was a senior journalist. Mr. Mahama never boarded that plane before.
The ACJ knew. Never.
Share, you see, share. I don't want mischief. No, you can keep it yourself. Yeah. Obi.
Okay, back to
Ossie.
Okay, Felix, your point where
Obi, Ossie, Aban, Pede, Odisi Ghana fu. They will manage the economy here, and yet didn't know one IMF for debt relief. His word. Yet only 3-4 weeks ago, the same government that is afraid, the president was calling on the international community there because of the impact of COVID on the African economies, which is squeezing out the government's ability to perform and provide social services. Until they should consider debt relief. And I say, so there's clear inconsistencies in their own call. IMF programmer, what better would equalize, was as a direct result of the mismanagement of the economy by your government. Where you went for the extended credit facility of almost $1 billion to fix it. Correct? We haven't gone. The rapid credit facility, EKOG, was unsolicited. IMF made it available because they themselves recognize that COVID, the whole world has been impacted. Until you make the MSK available so that countries who are emerging with more access to support one economies. And Ghana went for it. Unconditional. Clear distinction. Now, you see, Obi. Nanya Akufo-Addo aban no passive fiscal responsibility act here. And now we are free. What was the objective of the Fiscal Responsibility Act? That Aban will keep its debt within a certain cap so that fiscal discipline now, Mr. Mahama Aban will throw out to the dogs. Oh, chairman. 5%.
No, that's 5%. It's not.
7%.
Yes.
2019, 7.5. All above the fiscal.
Oh, of course.
But what was the fiscal? No. What was the Fiscal Responsibility Act passed?
It was 2018.
It was 20.
Oh, 2019.
2019.
Okay.
Yes.
So that year, 2019. It was 2019.
Oh, chairman.
2019 was 7.5%. What? Was it not?
Did we breach the Fiscal Responsibility Act?
2019.
Yes.
No, how?
It was not breached.
Right.
It was in 2020
It's not
that
true. It is not true.
a motion was tabled before Parliament to suspend.
No,
Go and check the
no,
data.
no.
Oh,
Before 2020.
Oh, chairman, no.
But you claim that the thing was passed in 2019.
Yes. What was the
And the number in there is 5%.
Memory can it say,
Me too.
did we breach the law in 2019?
You breached it.
Why do you think you didn't?
We didn't breach it because if we had breached it, we would have brought an application before Parliament for a suspension.
No.
So what was the deficit in 2019?
I don't remember it exactly, but you
It
check.
was
Remember.
7.5.
Oh,
I can't show. It's
remember.
7.5, so we'll check.
Yes.
In fact, it is in there.
Oh, Felix.
No. I argument. Rapid credit facility.
Please.
Report, no.
Please.
And your report, no. The application.
The
Can
application,
at the coin.
okay.
He stated 7.5%. I'm IMF G2. So what are you saying?
Me
Yeah.
too.
Obi, I recall that if the figures that readily comes to my mind is anything to go by, you recall that we're reporting 2 lines.
Yeah, I remember.
Regular expenditure that government incurs,
And below the line.
and
was.
then the exceptional expenditure. What was on it?
No,
What was not
Felix,
expenditure?
Maninwe.
Why the banking sector
Maninwe.
clean up though? It wasn't exceptional.
Maninwe.
The Emma Nkrofo liquidity support more blowy. But it was added.
Yes, so
Except that, chairman, Merbo,
Felix Maninwe, right.
Mr. Nyaku for the number of Passive Fiscal Responsibility Act. What was their purpose? To put government expenditure and debt in check. But of course, Parliament and Aban proposal will recognize it there. There may be occasion where you may have to suspend it for some exceptional reason. In 2020, because of COVID, government brought...
Just to set the record straight, this is from the worldbank.org. The overall fiscal deficit, including energy and financial sector costs, was therefore already elevated at 7.6% of GDP in 2019, and the debt to GDP ratio at 63.9% in the way 2019. But this one includes energy and financial sector costs.
Obi, if you share. Oh, chairman. Look. Share. I will share. 2020 budget statement will give you the 2019.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. And the differentiation below the line, but I was aware they've added. They include the energy and financial sector costs. Yeah.
The basis for the differentiation.
Obi.
No, but IMF claims said they understood. Said they would do the below the line report.
No, they didn't understand. No. Share. So if they understood, they would not have added it to the calculation. Or through application called IMF.
Yes.
For rapid credit facility, which is going to the IMF anyway. And no cry a rapid. It is worse than an extended credit facility. The more inferior. We are doing more upfront. IMF included it in the analysis, say 7.5. But Omono have arrogated to themselves the right to exclude some expenditure. I'm telling you that there's no basis for it. In 2008, see in your doom so President Kufuor had to do emergency power arrangements. It erased deficit. No, it also it raised the deficit to about 11%. But there was nothing like below the line. That was also an emergency situation.
No, but my point is,
so what,
Felix,
in any event, what are you talking about?
We've gone past this argument.
But he's the one trying to defend
himself.
See,
I just opened. He made allusions to what happened on Joy FM news file, and Ghana Web reported said the IMF has exonerated the government of allegations of deliberate deceit, insisting that the government did not submit wrong figures, neither did it conceal figures. Speaking on Joy FM's news analysis program News File, IMF country representative Dr. Albert Tunamama said his outfit is aware of every figure and explained that the difference in figures is as a result of a difference in opinions between the IMF and the government in arriving at figures for two metrics: fiscal deficit and gross international reserve. I'm reading media reports.
I listened to that program.
Remember,
what was the allegation that the NEC made? In 2019 budget, yes, for 3 consecutive years,
yes,
they had kept the deficit under 5%. He'd never mentioned any below the line item treatment. And yet, did
a specific allegation from the NDC?
Yes.
The NDC claims that the government
figures to Parliament and the IMF.
The government of Ghana.
How is it not true?
Oh, when you the NDC claimed, Felix said, the government of Ghana had in its budget to Parliament for 2018 and 2019 presented fiscal deficit of 3.0% and 4.4% of GDP, but changed the figures to 7.0 and 7.5% to GDP to the IMF for 2018 and 2019. For gross. Okay.
They have deceived Parliament and the people of Ghana, not the IMF. That was never the allegation. Obi, the IMF came to say what they presented to them included the full figure, which was 7.5%.
Yes.
But it is in the budget statement. It's in, I think, paragraph 281 or so of the 2019 budget. Say for 3 years, they had maintained a deficit below 5%. Below 5%. It was 3.8 and 4.
Obi, 4.4.
Absolutely. So what is the debate about?
Well,
you misled Parliament.
Below the line. Report in the first time I see or
no, that was during that conversation.
No. It was the budget.
Yes, in the budget.
Thank you very much. So how does he say? No. Chairman, I am in Parliament.
No, Felix.
Look, and thankfully, the period under review, I was a friend of the finance committee. Hold on.
No, but Felix, Unim say in the budget to me, Pacho, say apart from there, because appendixes,
thank you very much.
When you go to the appendices, I want to clear below the line. I think we had that discussion here. Yeah.
In his words, it is recorded. It's on record.
No, I know. But the point
so
is,
what is he talking about?
The budget document includes the appendix.
Yes. But to resolve it, what was the deficit for 2019? It was 7.5. Monama tried to reduce it by saying,
it be below the line.
Now, in any event, what energy payments are they talking about?
Maybe. We are then you conclude. Manini now conclude. Yes, Mesa, Mamintio.
Obi. Budget statement. FM. Budget deficit for 2019 was targeted at 4.1. We ended at 4.5 end September at the time that the budget was being presented.
Excluding financial sector and energy payments.
Yes, because as was explained. Did he say that? Oh, Chairman, yes, it's in the budget.
Read the full line. Read the full line.
Oh, now I better move 209 pages in here. Must say, at 2000, debating on the floor of Parliament, together with my good friend John, all raised the issue of the below the line reporting and said that they were not going to accept it. But that was on the floor of Parliament at the budget presentation. So if it wasn't in the budget, how were they making issues about it?
It was when they confronted you.
In any event, Felix, Obi, I'll go back there. Say, it may allege on radio, the finance minister of the republic, budget or presenting my parliament, no, Oda Kohisam Chiagana far. Go further.
Why? So the father have not gone further.
Because you don't have any basis.
Obi. You are telling me,
Obi.
Felix, absolutely.
Felix, now I'm not speaking, but you have a party rep
through your.
You have party before the
MPs.
You have MPs. You have MPs in Parliament.
Did the minister say or not? Say for 3 consecutive years he had kept the deficit below 5%.
Yes,
the fact that he said so.
Yes.
And then in the document to the IMF,
in the same budget.
Say your deficit is 7 and then 7.5% for those years.
Obi. Now the same IMF document, finance minister reported 2 figures.
But the IMF
in the same IMF document, application now, finance minister also submitted. He presented the regular budget expenditure. Oh, Chairman, Mama Kamasame.
Felix, Maninui.
Oh, that was money of I want to ask woman. I want to ask woman. Why would I be surprised on to ask woman? Because I said, oh, Felix.
Obi, you have the time to conclude.
Felix. Obi. The same application that the finance minister submitted to the IMF. He indicated the figures without the financial sector cleanup and the energy sector cost. And the figure with the energy sector cost and the financial sector cost.
Why did he go through them? Stress?
Because then he explains to everybody who is reading the documents that look, these are not regular expenditure that the government incurred. Yes, they were incurred, but they were exceptional. Having regard because of the mess that you had created, you had contracted so much power that we needed to pay for. What is up? What's that? What?
It traversed 3 years. So how could have been a one-off payment? That's what I work on. What kind of bizarre voodoo economics is this? Obi, those payments traversed 3 years. So it could not have been a one-off payment. That's what I work at.
Obi. Now, and that's exceptional one-off.
Yes, below the line, if it is one-off.
No, Obi.
Never to be repeated.
Obi.
But I think traversed three fiscal years. Obi. Financial
sector cleanup. Wayan in phases.
Yeah.
Was started with banks. Now what call savings and loans, and then subsequently microfinance.
Microfinance, yes.
What you being care cost be ma?
No.
Oh, Chairman, what is your problem? Why can't you allow me to speak? Let me go another station. So let me. What do you mean? I have more time than you.
Mesa.
Obi, remember. After those expenditure has been incurred.
No, thank
you very much. But we pay salaries every month.
Absolutely.
Yes, to schools every year. Yeah, your hospitals every year. Those are regular expenditures that government incur on a year-by-year basis. But financial sector cleanup was for the period that we had to incur that expense. So is it not exceptional?
It was not a statutory payment. It was not a compulsory
payment. Chairman, yes, but it was a management decision.
You took the decision. So
and why not? But who says that we are not bearing responsibility? So it's part of our public finances, except that we want to let people identify that, look, these are expenditures that were incurred under these circumstances. And these expenditures that regularly government, so that in your measurement of the performance of a government, okay, you can distinguish clearly who is doing better. That's all. But one, no one can what the bomb nana so that I can't open
I say what's the responsibility?
No,
why don't want fan boom?
But of course it's all in the same account.
Okay.
That's where I don't know what this year no documents no I publish oh. There figures here or 4 crore or 5 crore in any event, yeah. Obi. Obi, yeah. Also, workers why then?
Workers are. So what's the one increment here 4%? What care there? What be fixing to reflect the inflation rate.
Obi. Organized labor press statement on minimum wage and base pay negotiations and matters arising. Dr. Yalba, Secretary General of TUC, NATOL, Monday, 26 July 2021.
Oh, yeah, in the
Madam Ketchero. Also, after several meetings, both parties agreed on 4% for 2021 and 7% for 2022. And he lists all the labor unions who are there. 20 are here in organized labor groups. They are out there. 21 affiliate national unions. They are out there at the press conference. Also, people are dissatisfied that they want to lay down their tools because of this 4%. Then he goes. Also, the Public Financial Management Act 2016 requires that negotiations of public sector wages for any year are concluded in April of the preceding year. Since the act was passed, we have been negotiating public sector pay in the year before its implementation. This arrangement was very beneficial to public sector workers in 2020. It's here. We concluded negotiations for base pay for public sector workers in 2019. The effective date for implementation was 1st January 2020. The COVID pandemic struck in March 2020. But because we had already negotiated the base pay, government had no option but to continue to pay the reviewed salaries. Another reason why we negotiated for 2 years was that we had already delayed negotiations for 2020. We therefore considered it prudent to negotiate the base pay for 2022. Now let me explain other reasons why we accepted 4% for 2021 and 7% for 2022. This is organized labor. One of the rationale for the salary increases. Yet you are sitting here doing propaganda.
What propaganda?
Ghana for now then. Organized labor watch it in the workers' rights. But I'm telling you that all of them are here. All of them.
What are you talking about? When your leaders
What am I talking?
do you think everybody accepts?
Hey, rather than go on. Hey, fellas. Yeah.
41 minutes
Yeah.
after 6.
Yeah.
I was here
Obi.
up here.
Obi.
Yes.
Issues are simple and straightforward. And yeah, Bofakasi, and then a press conference at and a spreadsheet. I can see. The fact of the matter is that yes, Ghana economy in the past year has been challenged. There's no dispute.
Okay.
Aban on in fact, no only some of the reviews in taxes Aban were rolling out this year. It's a matter of fact. But I say that what is the context? Compared to your time when you were managing the affairs of this country. 2020 election. What blow do there was no tomorrow? What blow do? What was the budget deficit that you attained in that year?
2016. It was.
Make a 2012.
2012.
When President Mills died and Mr. Mahama became the candidate.
Hey, Mesa. How do you go to 2012 to go and ask for the deficit when there's 2016? 2012 visa growth rate, it was 9.2%.
So Felix, now let me determine.
That's the same. That's the point I'm making. I will be.
Who press conference Kafa data from 2000 and.
But of course, it is properly.
So why do you want to limit me to 2016? Why?
2012 to 2020.
No, I'm telling you that in 2012 there was no pandemic. There was no issue. There was no global activity be or impacted the economy of Ghana. The world trade system on here disrupted. But you spent so recklessly, you could not recover. Hence your resort to IMF. It's a matter of fact.
Okay.
To the point where your budget deficit was in the region of in excess of 12%. Now, 2020, as the economic crisis, it started, even including the banking sector crisis and energy sector payment. Let's even assume that you had the whole 7% was it not manageable under the circumstances, in spite of all the costs that the government had incurred?
May I say,
Felix, in a pandemic,
Obi, 1 minute.
If in a pandemic, in a pandemic, they sit here and say that what is the worst economy in 40 years. Because of what?
Masa, your economy deteriorated long before. You are not telling the truth. What allegation? Obi, Mr. 2008, the deficit was 12% when Kufuor was leaving office. There was no pandemic. 2012, a similar figure. In 2016, it was 6.3%. It was better than your 2018, 2017, 19 deficits. It makes you a terrible government. Now, what can they want to hide the deficit and claim praise? You don't have respect for the people you are governing. Nipa would do almost in one breath, was a banking sector cleanup. Obi, banking sector cleanup, it was not a statutory payment. And yet, or share. You took the decision to pay, so you bear responsibility for the consequence.
So we should have
public, Mr. Oshe, Obi. Aketia, it is almost statutory. When Ghana, it might for a contract, so you must honor it whether you like it or not. So, only a regular payment. If you decide for political reasons to pay banking sector cleanup, you take responsibility. In any event, Moya mo campaign, you say people should vote for you because you have done banking sector cleanup. So you take credit for a policy and reject responsibility for the consequence. Who does this? The truth is that Mo Edin Trotch Ghana for you wanted to hide the deficit and we caught you. When the finance minister came to parliament, he did not disclose it. And now two, you are not allowed to decide to exclude some expenditures.
Cite the finance minister.
I've cited the 2019 budget. He read it on one muto.
Take him.
Oh, Masa, what are you talking about? Oh, Masa, what are you talking about? Obi, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Share. Obi.
Look,
oh, Masa. Why? Obi, why? In the parliament that you have majority. I say, Masa. Obi, see me ba, Mr. Oh, Mama, come on, sir. I say, almost pass a fiscal responsibility act, and that they will not breach it. More, even COVID executive instrument, President Nkasa breach by attending an event with more than 25% required. So it is not fiscal responsibility now. President Nkasa now, or the Imran Bay, then you cannot attend a funeral with that number of people. And yet, as sorry for you can't go to church with full house. He went to breach the COVID rules. I don't know by the way. But what pass a fiscal responsibility act? No. Oh, Masa. Why? President Eko funeral, you can't ensure law. That was something they catch me. Masa, what are you talking about? It's Imran Bay said who was to enforce it? I mean, executive instrument now, President Bay. I am the power there on finding executive instrument. Mesa, I mean, I'm an enforcer. Am I the enforcing officer? So what are you talking about? Maybe I'm making other officers. Obi. The summary of the argument in the say they have destroyed the Ghanaian economy through reckless expenditure. Mameka Biomo say a year deficit on me in it had nothing to do with COVID. A deficit actually a year unplanned expenditure. They exceeded what they had planned. Almost planned, I think 11% in the budget. You went beyond what you had planned and programmed because of COVID. Because in 2020, no, now COVID aba. So when you are going to read the budget, what actually and say because of COVID, you are going to have to get your friend saying 11.4% budget deficit. And because election Benti, you wanted to bribe the electorate to vote for you, so you overspent, and we incurred 15.2%. Machia will say Ghana and COVID. There are countries around us. Oh, nobody's insulting you. Why? Now say you did it because you wanted to be voted for. You without regard for your ability to pay.
So protecting lives.
You didn't protect any life. You were just trying to win votes. Why? Why have you never given us free electricity or free water?
Because there's no pandemic.
What? Who told you say? It's only in pandemic times that people need water and electricity?
In fact, in other countries, they
pay
people salaries.
There are countries, Togo, any Benin, almost year rent. They paid rent for their citizens. Yeah, they incur deficit below 5%.
Now, Obi.
Obi. At the time, now we redo budget. COVID had struck. COVID has struck. You
2019 November.
You did a review in 2020. That is when you reviewed your deficit. And yet you did not include that you'll be doing these things. Even the bankers say,
relief for water and electricity. Masa. Was it not in April that President started it?
Obi, Mr. Yet,
April 2020 was that.
Yes, but you were going to extend it to the end of the year. And yet, you could read the budget statement review in July. One fan come. It was when you saw, say, you could win your election. What they expenditure never come.
Obviously,
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? At the time I will read, no, didn't you? Oh, Obi. In any event, say we are not arguing on the basis of perception. The figures are here. Your deficit were in disarray long before the pandemic. G2, what that? No, now 63% of GDP. You were paying 46% of your revenue to service your debt. It was before the pandemic, and they are 55%.
Finally, we say
far less than that.
IMF and World Bank recommended adoption of HIPC by Ghana in 97-98, and we declined the invitation until 2001. And so it cannot be factual that Ghana, that they don't recommend or invite that option. Abdul Malik.
But I have not spoken about HIPC. HIPC was an exception and it should not be mad. Have I mentioned HIPC here?
Because I think because I can say IMF for no Omono Emma can't tell us about you.
I have not mentioned HIPC. What they have is not HIPC, a different arrangement. HIPC may be in CBO because it is a one-off thing. So I don't know what is comparing. What are you talking about? Sir, rapid credit facility. After claiming that they had managed the economy well, now COVID about for 3 weeks. You claim say you had managed the economy so well. Yes, COVID about 3 weeks. You done IMF for 1 billion. Now, sad no. Oh, mama come ask them. Oh, I'm a point I make.
The economy, I'm number one task.
Yeah, task. I say economy.
What are you
talking about?
talking about?
Ladies.